Walking through CORZQ was one of the craziest experiences of my life. CORZQ has been one of the biggest Bitcoin and crypto mining farms in the world, and I can really not understate that it was overwhelming. I thought that they were just wildly successful, but some gross misappropriation of funds, like spending more on private jets than even Facebook, right, with their executive team, well, they ended up filing for bankruptcy.
One of the largest publicly traded crypto mining companies in the US filed for bankruptcy protection this morning. A person familiar with CORZ's finances told CNBC.
Pretty sobering event, surely. However, they are now apparently emerging from bankruptcy, a publicly traded Bitcoin mining farm. How did this happen? Where are they going? And I don't know if you know this, but they never shut down. They mined 31 Bitcoin yesterday, and they're still not even technically out of bankruptcy. My name is Vosk. I'm obsessed with Bitcoin mining. You're on the VoskCoin YouTube channel.
Bitcoin mining company is going public. CORZ is planning to list on the NASDAQ through a merger with a SPAC that values the company at about $4.3 billion.
CORZ said in an SEC filing today that it's not going to meet its debt payments for October and November.
Hold up.
CORZ is not only a mining farm, they're also a co-location facility. So you can become their client, send a bunch of miners there, they will host them, they will run them, they will mine, and they also operate their own fleet of mining rigs with almost an entire focus, to my understanding, on Bitcoin mining these days. They did have a GPU mining operation, but what I know of that was back when Ethereum was still GPU mineable. Lately, Bitcoin's been putting out about $30 million in new Bitcoin mined per day. And there is no question about it. Bitcoin is heating up. Let me show you this data, right? So here's just the blocks, right? And with these blocks, you can see, and this is a reminder to basically consolidate your stuff and get your stuff on a cold storage, because basically Bitcoin transaction fees are going up. That's the takeaway. But the point here is we look at these blocks from today, and there's almost an entire Bitcoin in fees. So every Bitcoin fee is paid to the miners. So there's only 6.25 of new Bitcoin mined per block, right? But basically Bitcoin miners are earning more Bitcoin or more passive income or more dollars as they mine comparatively, thanks to just the very big resurgence in Bitcoin activity. Because more activity leads to higher fees. That's the gist of it. This is CORZ on Robinhood. And full disclosure, I don't have any CORZ. It's not listed on Robinhood, it's just tracked here. You can buy it on, but obviously it's a publicly traded stock. Some other places. I hold some of the competitor mining stocks. Thankfully, my mining stocks, none of them have filed for bankruptcy. CORZ has done some crazy stuff. So they're up 312% like on their stock in the last year. That's pretty interesting, but most of the time you'd be down pretty bad even still. I bring this up for numerous reasons, but it's very critical because this is a key piece how they're trying to basically maneuver their way out of bankruptcy.
You know, we've been through turbulent times in the past at our company. I certainly have a good bit of experience in distressed markets, so that when we come out of this, we're not only strong, but we're also bigger. We view this kind of a market, look, it's a challenge and you need to work through it, but it also presents great opportunities to build.
If you're in the VoskCoin Discord server or on the VoskCoin Talk forum or other places, you may be familiar with Badgerland, Justin, and you may have even heard about the Badgerland Mining Club. Very quickly, this went from an idea to getting the ball rolling over the last year to then being acquired. They have since been acquired by Quantum Expeditions, and Justin has joined their team in a full-time capacity. He's also written some articles on Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. In particular, I remember them being on Cointelegraph. I know he did a live stream interview with Ray over there, so that was a fun one to watch. Bringing it back here, right? Quantum Expeditions made today's video possible, so thank you to them for that. But I also want to thank them for their focus on democratizing BTC mining. What does that even mean? Well, they've got a raise going on, and instead of buying a miner to host at a farm, you could literally buy into a farm here. And the cool thing about them doing a crowdfund is there's only a minimum of $100. So this is still early. It's got the early bird terms, whatever. They have an imminent deployment of their miners. They already raised $350,000. They've got a power purchase agreement. They've got a clear roadmap. They're focusing on mining in Texas, which Texas is the Bitcoin mining hub of the entire world, if you didn't know that. My point is, this is an interesting opportunity to get Bitcoin mining exposure without actually going out and buying Bitcoin miners directly. So I'll link it out in the video description below. Ask questions in the comments, and hey, we'll go from there. Or Hash Index put out this article, and it's pretty interesting. So let's kind of dig into it. They really consolidated a lot of the research. And this is very recent news. So this week, CORZQ revealed that they will emerge, right? We need to talk about what exactly that means from Chapter 11 bankruptcy by the end of the year. The resurrection makes CORZQ the first and potentially only Bitcoin mining company to emerge from 2022's slew of bankruptcy cases. Compute North didn't make it. Celsius Mining definitely not going to make it. A toxic combination of high debt, unhedged power prices, and abysmal mining economics, as well as just gross expenditure by their executive team. So I guess they either don't know that in this article or are hesitant to say that because Luxor has a bias here. A Hashrate index owned by Luxor, they have a mining pool. I don't mean this super disrespectful or anything, but they would love if CORZQ, the people who are mining 31 Bitcoin per day right now, were on their pool. So I'll let you know in an absolutely uncensored capacity here, and all that's beauty and glory, in my humble opinion. So now that I'm done tooting my own horn, or whatever you want to call this here, my rant. The gist is, in their ascent out of bankruptcy, they've been issuing convertible notes and new shares to creditors in exchange for extinguishing debt. These stock options will likely lead to hundreds of millions of new shares of the CORZ stock floating around post-bankruptcy. In addition to issuing new shares, CORZQ also sold off part of its ASIC fleet and reduced administrative expenses. See, that's what we're really trying to get at. The reduction is really small, only marginally. Prior to the bankruptcy, they operated 15.7 exahash of self-mining and roughly 8.7 exahash of hosted mining capacity. After reorganizing their business, self-mining hash rate fell 4.5% to 15 exahash, while the hosted hash fell from 8.6 to 7.3. The recent order of S19J XPs from Bitmain and support for new mining equipment, shareholders could reasonably expect to see CORZQ growing its hash rate in the coming year. It's very interesting the way that they can file for bankruptcy, try to shed debt, not pay bills, prolong the runway, all while they were sponsoring, different mining events and conventions, all while they're buying more mining rigs. I mean, just talk about working the system. They have some top tier business guys that will absolutely use and abuse the system for better and worse. I mean this in a way that I respect what they've done, but I don't personally like it, to be blunt. CORZQ is essentially a bear. And it's due to their situation, sure, but they sell literally every Bitcoin they mine. And I think I might have talked about this in in one or both of the CORZQ videos. But essentially what's going on here, right, is this is a dollar business. They put millions of dollars in and they're looking to take millions of dollars out. They don't care about Bitcoin. They don't care about crypto. They're a massive mining farm that just straight dump literally all of their Bitcoin out of necessity or their principles, whatever. All I know is that in 10 years, I want Bitcoin because my US dollars will continue to lose their buying power. And historically, Bitcoin continues to go up in buying power. And there's so much more to it than that. The administrative costs topped the scales at $43 million per quarter, the highest in the industry. Surprise. a bankruptcy. They've reduced that to just a lowly 24 million, but that is a huge reduction. I mean, they've essentially cut their costs in half, or 44% reduction from pre-bankruptcy. CORZ is reducing debt by issuing new shares, convertible notes. Their balance sheet carried approximately 978 million in long-term debt. After its reorg, they have about 410 million worth of long-term debt, a 58% decrease in the company's burden. The reorganization of debt pre and post bankruptcy will see an improvement in the cost of capital carried on Core Scientific's balance sheet. This chart shows the improvement. What are the restructuring terms here, right? The reorg, creditors need to be redressed for their claims. Most of the compensation is coming in the form of stock. Congratulations. Based on the total enterprise value, TEV, assigned to Core Scientific of basically $2 billion at the restructuring. They're given a market cap of 1.5 with 35 million cash balance prior. And basically this breaks it down based on their current 382 million shares outstanding. The implied share value is $3.89 per share. So there's potential share dilution for Core Scientific after bankruptcy. They want to fund future operations, expansion through various equity instruments. These instruments include ones being used to pay down debt during Chapter 11, significant share dilution after Core Scientific emerged from bankruptcy. So based on their estimate here, shares are going to what feels like double. Not quite that much, but yeah, it's going to feel like that. So let's ask the big question, what do we think the share prices are going to be worth? Well, they ran, their numbers here, and they pretty much estimate that the equity rights offering is being offered at $272 per share at a $1.5 billion equity valuation, right? You basically trade under that, so $250 per share. Long-term investors might position within the $220 to $250 range, as they're not trying to trade on an event-driven basis here. You add a bull run, you pretty much just had a zero behind all these numbers because it can just get absolutely wild. Although I said my 2 cents earlier, I also want to absolutely illustrate that I cannot understate how much effort and research went into this article, compiling this data, making those charts. This is top tier writing. It's very good to see, especially in a niche, sector like ours, and it's just Bitcoin mining is a niche in a niche when you look at crypto and Bitcoin as a whole compared to the world, or whatever, right? So honestly, this is truly nuts to see, because it was even a year ago that they filed for bankruptcy, right? And the estimated assets, basically 1.4 billion, liabilities at 1.3 billion. They have been working with some other bankrupt companies in the midst of all this, like BlockFi, because they were leading in mining equipment loans. Core Scientific said that they borrowed 2 loan tranches from BlockFi to buy mining equipment, one of $60 million in December 2021, and another $20 million with an interest of 13.1% payable within 24 months. That is basically making BlockFi a top creditor, higher on the basically seniority list, which is your priority to get paid out, things like that in a bankruptcy case here. So we look at this data, right, and we see outstanding balances in the millions, which is always a crazy thing. We see them at the top, and then also right there in the middle, or in the midst of somewhere you just would never really want to be. When I hung out and met a lot of different people and workers in the Core Scientific mining operation, we put our boots on the ground and did our mining farm tour at 2 of their different facilities. Honestly, I had fun. It was cool. It was, truly impressive and overwhelming. Most of the people I dealt with were really cool. I don't want to come off like I'm wishing them bad or anything. I hope they come out of bankruptcy and they make all their creditors whole, and they run a good operation after that. I really don't like the constant Bitcoin selling, right? But in a perfect world, we all think, everyone will just, we'll all just convert to Bitcoin, right? And we'll all just, buy everything with Bitcoin. We'll mine our Bitcoin. We'll hold our Bitcoin. Buying with Bitcoin is essentially selling Bitcoin for something else, or trading, whatever. But anyway, I'm kind of getting on an off-topic rant. The point here being, this is the latest news, this is the latest scoop, and this is truly interesting. And when you look at, how bad the market was in 2022, and things are heating up right now, Bitcoin's trading over $30,000 again, and we're all thinking the good times are coming sooner than later, finally, for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market as a whole. This may have been an absolute ace play by them to go into bankruptcy and basically extend their runway by some time. And they entered a true survival state to survive until the bull run returns, and it just makes their operation wildly profitable. And then they'll truly be able to dig themselves out and everything's fine, and maybe they go on to hit a new all-time high in stock price. It may not be a Cinderella story if that's the right use of a Cinderella story, a fairy tale ending, whatever. I don't know, but it's time for me to check on my little Cinderella, my princess, my CPO, the Chief Princess Officer, Tails Vosk, at the VoskCoin YouTube channel. She's our resident Sheebie-Deebie, and she is also the owner of VoskCoin. So on that note, I'm going to head out. I hope you subscribe, stick around, enjoy the video. If you did, please let me know in the comments. If you didn't, you don't really need to let me know in the comments.